Alright guys, so here's the review of the Berny T2526M, or you'll probably know it better as the Seiko 5 Homage. So the reason I've got both of these out is you can actually get it with two different options. So firstly, you can get it with this titanium bracelet. Yep, I did actually say titanium. So really nice touch there. Talking about that in a bit more detail in a minute. Or you can get it with this NATO strap, which also has titanium hardware. And again, I'll be showing you what they're both like on wrist in a bit. We'll put this to one side for a second. So before we go over this watch in a bit more detail, let's go over the dimensions first. So we've got a diameter of 37.1mm, thickness of 8.5, lug width of 20, and then the all-important lug to lug is coming in at 45.1. So some really nice compact dimensions on this. And obviously straight away you can tell we've got a quartz movement in this, but obviously that's reflected in the price. So let's talk about that price, because it is a really competitive price for this one. So if you get it on this titanium bracelet, it's going to cost you $59.90. That's dollars. So about $60. Which works out to about £48, about 55 euros. If you want to get it on that NATO strap I showed you before, it's going to be slightly cheaper, but not as much as you'd think. The difference between the two isn't much at all. So it's going to be about $56, about £45, about 51 euro. So I definitely think it's worth getting this bracelet. Although, as we'll get into it, you'll see it's not the best, but it's always nice to have a bracelet that actually fits the watch. Because you can always pick up NATO straps fairly cheaply, but I'll let you decide when you see them both. So I know some people aren't keen on the Berny branding, so you can actually get this in a sterile version as well. So you can get black dial, blue dial, get the branded version in both, or the sterile version in both. And as I said, you can either get it on this bracelet or on the NATO strap. So, seeing as we talked about it quite a bit, let's go over this strap first. This bracelet, sorry. So you can see we've got a fully brushed bracelet there, apart from those edges of the centre links that are polished. But they aren't actually individual links, and it is actually a rolled or folded bracelet. So obviously not the best quality, but again, given that price, you can kind of forgive it. Also with it being titanium as well. Nice touch. We have actually got a decent amount of micro adjust there, fold over, just a friction based clasp, and it is only pressed, but again, with it being titanium and the price, you kind of expect that. Quickly show you the case back. So as it says there, all titanium, got the Berny branding, then the model number, the fact that it's quartz movement, and 50 meter water resistant. We've also got hollow end links, as you'd expect with this kind of bracelet. Not ideal, but it does still wear quite nicely, I think. But obviously, as I said earlier, if you're not keen on this, you definitely want to go for the NATO option. So let's get a zoom in on that dial and talk about it in a bit more detail. So we've got a fully printed dial, nothing applied, and then we've got that date window at the 3 o'clock, no frame or anything around it, just cut out. And then with this particular one, because it's the branded one, you've got the Berny brand in there, just below the 12 on that inside hour marker section. And then you've got the minutes around the outside. The fact that it's quartz and titanium down at the bottom. And then when it comes to the hands, perfectly sized. Obviously with the dial being laid out slightly differently, that's reflected in the hand size. So fairly short hour hand, but it does meet those hours on the middle section nicely, as does the minute hand. Got a nice red tip on that second hand as well. And then we've got a counterbalance on the end. So the listing does actually say there is some AR coating on this crystal, but I'm not entirely sure how much they've got on there. You're still getting quite a bit of glare there. But again, given the price, you can forgive that. So let's check out whether we've got sapphire crystal on this, using the trusty diamond select tool. And yep, we have got sapphire crystal. So at this price, that's nice to see. You won't be surprised if it didn't, but it is nice that it has. And it is just a flat sapphire crystal, no curvature at all on that. And when it comes to the case, as you could figure out from the dimensions, we've got female end links, which are always good. Got a fully brushed case, and then a polished bezel. We've also got a polished crown as well, which is unsigned. And it is a really nice slim case, as you'd expect, with it being quartz. And again, you can see those folded, rolled links. Not ideal, but again, reflected in the price. They do fit relatively well. There's a tiny bit of a gap, but that's because they're hollow end links, so they're never going to fit perfectly. So the movement in this is the Miyota 2S60, and obviously with it being quartz, obviously you'll have to change the battery, but it's got a 10-year battery life apparently. When it comes to the crown, it's just a push-pull crown, but obviously with it being quartz, you're not going to be needing to use it all that often. So now let's talk about the lume. So you can see we've got a little bit there already, but let's charge it up, give it a proper chance. And there we go. So I was really surprised when I first charged this one up. Given the price of the watch, I wasn't expecting a great deal, and obviously with it being a fully printed dial as well. But I've been really pleasantly surprised with this. So it's actually BGW9, according to the listing. And I think I do believe them, because it's definitely got that ice blue kind of colour, BGW9. And it's really well applied as well. No patchiness at all, consistent across the hands, and more or less the indices. Obviously, the hands are going to have a bit more on there, because they can actually fill them, whereas the indices are just painted. But still, really impressive given the price of the watch. One slightly odd thing is with the second hand, you can see they've loomed that counterbalance, so that's actually the opposite side of the second hand. It's got the lume on. A little bit odd, but I guess it's nice to be on there. But it would have been nicer if they'd loomed the actual tip. But definitely impressed with the lume on this. It's going to last a good amount of time. You're going to be pleasantly surprised if you pick one of these up. So all it's left to do now is show you what they're like on wrist, on this bracelet, and then on that NATO, and then we'll wrap this up. So this is what it looks like on my 7-inch wrist on the titanium bracelet. And because you've got plenty of micro adjust there, sizing isn't an issue at all. And with it being titanium, it is really light on wrist. Barely notice it's there, so really comfortable. Obviously, every now and then it is going to catch the hairs on your arm if you've got quite a hairy wrist, because of those folded links. I've had it nip me a couple of times, but on the whole, it's not too bad. Really slim case as well, so conforms to wrist nicely. A little bit of curvature to those lugs. And I do think they've done a good job on this one, especially for the price that they're asking. Really reasonable. But what do you think? Do you like it on this bracelet? I'll show you now what it's like on the NATO strap. And here it is on the NATO strap. So I wear mine with the excess underneath. Obviously if you wear it differently it's going to look slightly different, but that's the way I wear them. And it is really comfortable, and as I say, got titanium hardware matching the case, so that's a nice touch. So I suspect this will probably be the more popular option due to the rolled links on that titanium bracelet, but I don't think it's too bad an option. As I say, titanium bracelet at this kind of price, it's not going to be solid titanium because they just couldn't do it. It'd be far too expensive. So let me know, which option do you prefer? And if you're interested in this one, link will be down in the description as always. But that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.